Hey there. Welcome to the latest episode of Grind and Flow, the Creativity Podcast. I'm Chuck Moore. Today, we'll talk about creating with intention, among other things, with acclaimed Americana singer-songwriter Boo Ray. But first, sorry for the delay with this episode. Hopefully, I'm back in a groove with a consistent release cycle. And today, we return with another guest well worth your time, I think. A self-described troubadour, Boo Ray is a force of nature, praised numerous times by Rolling Stone for his distinctively raw and honest bluesy Southern country rock. Boo Ray and his Hot Shod Band are well known in Nashville and beyond for blistering marathon shows of music that's banging, twanging, and sure to get your feet and booty moving. And when you dive into the craft and content of what he writes about, he can give you something to chew on as well. And for the last decade, his music has been a mainstay on SiriusXM's Outlaw and Tom Petty channels. Actually, one of his key collaborators and mentors is Heartbreakers drummer Steve Ferrone. As a songwriter, Boo Ray is both seasoned craftsman and eager student. With regards to the intention that I first mentioned, he writes and compiles each song on every album and set list to serve a specific function, as part of a thematic whole to create a compelling journey for the listener. And with regards to his personal journey, Boo Ray shares here a little about his own recovery, including an interesting framework for practicing gratitude, which he likens to a pilot's pre-flight checklist. I'm certainly grateful for Boo Ray, who's been a kind and patient Sherpa to me the last couple of years in my own exploration of the Americana roots music scene. So buckle up. Here's a spirited conversation with accomplished raiser of roofs, burner of barns, Boo Ray. I'm really a big fan of roots music and Americana, but I have a hard time explaining to people what's the difference in the type of music that you do, and a lot of the folks in East Nashville, versus what people consider mainstream country. What's the difference?
A couple of different ways to answer that. One would be the marketing money behind them. So what everybody actually knows and most people have heard is that's mainstream country music, and it's got a whole bunch of marketing money behind it, so everybody's heard it. This world that you speak of, roots music or Americana music, is not got that marketing money behind it, and it's that group of artists and musicians and players is comprised of people who are doing it on like an old school bohemian way of just barely getting by and being willing to live a different type of lifestyle in order to do that thing.
Can I hear the difference?
Yes, you can actually see the difference in the sound file. When you, I'm not kidding you. When you look at these mainstream sound files, you know those old fireworks, the snake? You light the snake and it just goes shh. That's what the sound files look like, meaning that they have actually zero dynamic. Like the sound files, you know, they peak and valley according to dynamic. These mainstream files, what you hear on the radio, there is zero dynamic. It's a big fat line that comes off that's just all full sonic sound wave at the top of its spectrum. Wow. The whole time. And
that's really deep dive, but just for folks that aren't music nerds, as an example, just go into your phone voice memo and you'll see what an average sound wave looks like. So that's what he's talking about. What is the best part about what you do?
The people that I get to work with, great pro players that get behind me and support what I do and are willing to go slog through these gut bucket honky tonk gigs with me. You know, they ain't doing it for the money or the fame. You know, there's something else going on.
What's the hard part about your job?
The hard part about the job is lack of security, and at times the hours can get challenging.
How do you push through those challenging times?
You know, being constantly obsessed and interested with some music idea or song idea is a good thing that seems to drag me through the quagmire of it all. Yeah.
What do you think your superpower is?
My foolishness of being willing to follow those ideas and let the rest of it go, and blot out the things that aren't working for what is working.
What's your kryptonite?
My kryptonite would be, you know, I have this terrible character flaw of I will try to convince an idiot that they're an idiot, and it just doesn't work. It can't be done.
Trigger alert. We're coming up here on an admittedly hack interview question, but I always try to take this hill anyway. Basically, I'm soliciting advice for those trying to break into show business. It's such a broad question, like the most imponderable Zen riddle ever. I mean, how can there be a satisfying answer with any substance? But having interviewed people for quite a while now, I've found that with the right person, you can get good stuff. And I do think Boo's answer has value here that can be applied to any endeavor we invest our lives in. See what you think. Any advice for people starting out on the path or that have been at it for a while?
Figure out on the front end. Just go ahead and get past all the nonsense and figure out what it is that you want. If you want to be famous and successful and you want to be a baller, then go do that. Probably not in the music business, though. You might as well buy a lottery ticket. The criteria is not necessarily talent or skill or any of those things that you have control over. It is this other phenomena of pop culture and celebrity and that world. So if that's what you want, just identify that early on and go after that. If you want to be a songwriter and a musician or a performer, that's a whole different thing. Then you're talking about a dedication to a craft, and you need to read a bunch of books, and you need to listen to a bunch of records, and you need to become impossibly obsessed with music.
Who were some mentors in your journey?
I've had a few different mentors. I've been lucky in that regard. Early on, there was a singer-songwriter that was a fabulous singer-songwriter and was generous with his time, Peter DuPont, in Western North Carolina. When I got out to California, I lucked out and became good friends with Steve Ferrone from Tom Petty's band, and he became an important mentor. 2019 might have just been a little ways into the release of Tennessee, Alabama Fireworks. He asked me how it's going, and he says, "Yeah, man," he says, I wish that was popping a little bit harder for you. He says, "I tell you what, man," he said, "I want to tell you this story. The Heartbreakers kind of never got the big brass ring during the course of their career. Like, Tom Petty never really got the brass ring. So he got a Grammy in 2017 as coolest cat of the decade or something. That's a consolation prize. That ain't no Grammy. But the number of actually number ones and Grammys, it's not there in comparison to the size and weight of the catalog. And so what Steve shared with me, he's like, "Boo, what you are doing in the course of this time is you've built a catalog for yourself. So the way your set plays, you place 3 hours worth of Sirius XM Outlaw Country singles." So that was something that I took away from Steve in regarding not getting the commercial success that you're hoping for, that you are aiming at.
Not using that as a yardstick for.
Yeah, well, trying to find what did work, and so what you end up with at the end of it, hopefully, knock on wood, right? Knock on wood. At the end of it, what you end up with is a catalog of songs that plays like a list of singles, like a great catalog of music.
So tell us about some of your creativity habits. Are you write every day? Or are you only when it feels like it? What are some of your process things?
I listen to music while I'm working, while I'm doing leather work. In particular, I listen to whole full-length records. I read some Mark Twain. I read some Emmett Fox. I write in the mornings. Early in the morning, I write.
Every day?
I don't know if it's every day. I don't know. I probably write with other people. I do co-writes probably a couple times a week, at least every other week, pretty much throughout the year.
Tell me about that. Do you like the writing appointment, or is it just part of the game here?
Yeah, I love co-writing with people. So the first year I came to Nashville, I did over 100 registered co-writes at Warner Chapel, NASI, all over town, and I played all those venues. Solo acoustic, sitting on a stool deals. Of that batch of those more than 100 songs, none of those songs will ever make it on one of my records, but I'm glad I did it. Because I wound up with a sharp bag of songwriting tools.
Such as, and you care to share?
Well, so here's what I do. Sure, it's not rocket science. Like, hey man, what kind of song are you looking for? What do you need in your catalog? Like, what kind of song do you need? My first way into a song is like, well, what's the tempo? What kind of drum beat are you looking for? That's the first number one thing. And then my second move, after we decide on what type of drum beat, essentially, and tempo that we want in a song, be like, well, what's the highest note you want to sing on the chorus? And then we reverse engineer the song backwards from that note and come up with, well, here's the chorus, Here's the framework of the chorus that will accommodate this high big note that you want to sing on the chorus.
Sounds like creative math.
Well, here's what that is it's a framework as opposed to just being like, oh, I want to write what I feel like. And I do follow that on occasion, and I just follow like whatever my hands happen to be on. But when I'm writing for a purpose, and, you know, whether it's for myself or whether it's another artist, I will be able to answer the question of like, what do you need? I'll be like, I need another mid-tempo sort of emotional song, you know, that's got a big singy chorus.
And that's, you do that for your own albums, not just for your writing for hire?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. There's a few different types of songs. You know, you might need a barn burner. I need one that's fast and raised as hell. You know, because a lot of people need those. You might need a ballad. You might need a ballad, something that fits under an acoustic umbrella, say, per se. You might need a sort of mid-tempo, emotional-based thing with a big singing-ass chorus, like Free Fallin'. You know, something like, I'm free fall, just big open thing, right? And so deciding on the front end, what do you need? What do you want in your catalog?
That's even turning the question when you say you, that could mean
100,
yourself.
100%. Like I constantly look at my catalog and be like, you know, what else, what does there need to be? What's missing in this group of songs? Songs are tools, man. But what a song really is for a performer is a crowd control tool. That's what a song is. It controls the room, it sets the room up to do what you need the room to do. And if you need people to, like, if you need to blow people's doors off and just have them just sort of be satiated with tempo and volume, then you got that song. If you need to be able to get quiet and kind of get personal and draw them in a little bit, then you need to have that song too. And if you need to be real recognizable, you basically need to be playing in Whiskey River, but it needs to be your song. Then you need to be able to, you know, you need to be able to throw a recognizable loop that's like, oh, that's a cowboy throwing a hula hand. And so that it's this palatable experience, you know, and you need to be able to dial those up at will as per needed. And you also need to be able to compose a set list that is an arc, that is an experience for the listener, that it takes the listener on a ride. There's a few people in the retro country world that are bending over backwards to try and still find those last few morsels that haven't been, doing rocks that haven't been turned. I mean, basically all the songs have been written at this point. Like all the word combinations and melody combinations and keys. Like we've just reached a mathematical point in evolution of American music and folk music and pop music that the combinations have been done. That being said, there's still a few stones that haven't been turned.
Okay, write that one down, seriously. There's still a few stones that haven't been turned. Personally, I take a lot of encouragement from that, certainly in my own musical pursuits, and heck, even doing this podcast. There is room to do your thing. Maybe you can apply this to something you pursue, and if so, I'd like to hear about it. DM me on Instagram at grindandflowofficial, and please also consider following us there. Meanwhile, as we wrap up this episode, Boo Ray's about to tip us off on other artists who also continue to mine this rich music with grand results. But first, some hard-won wisdom on gratitude I mentioned in the intro. Boo Ray has a handy checklist to employ when things may feel like they're sliding sideways.
I have developed a way of framing all this stuff and organizing this stuff, which is I have a checklist, and on my checklist, and this is also comes through to me. This information, this method comes to me through recovery also. So if at the top of my checklist, do I have a safe place to stay tonight? Do I have enough food to eat today? Am I safely not inebriated, strung out, on drugs, needing drugs? Am I safe and sober, essentially? And then can I make significant personal contact with another human being? If I can check off yes on each item of that list, I'm actually okay regardless of what I think. You know, it's like pilots call it flying by instruments. And you know, I definitely have a group of people, a small handful of people that are a phone call away from me that I can run this stuff by. I have to be satisfied then I'm okay regarding that checklist, regardless of everything else. And then move forward creatively, enthusiastically into the process of being a songwriter, right?
If you went back in time and told young Boo, would young Boo have listened to you?
No. But no, and I don't think there's anything to be told though. It's like what we're coming up with is like it's just the market.
Right.
Like what do you tell the guy? Like here's what I would told him. Like, hey man, just get comfortable, relax, because this is going to be a long, grueling ride.
What else do you do to feed your soul?
You know, feed my soul for a lot of times for me is a direct thing of just feeding my life, meaning like making money. So I've lucked out, and it turns out I got this knack for building guitar straps and belts, and which is something I started for my own personal purposes. So I spend a significant amount of time doing leather work, and I get to listen to full length records while I'm building leather work for Timbo and pickers around town and Billy Gibbons and Ty. I decked out Tom Petty's band, and I think Juliette Lewis got some of my stuff. Johnny Knoxville got some of my stuff. Hell, I just built 2 belts for Leon Bridges.
Who are some of your friends in this scene?
Well, you know, I've been running and hanging with my buddy Timbo Lowe a lot lately. Paul McDonald's a great buddy of mine, and his wife, his wonderful wife, Leah Blevins. I'm a big fan of Nicole Atkins. My buddy Aaron Lee Tasjan's a great troubadour. My good friend Christina Murray is a great Georgia singer-songwriter. My buddy Tyler Halverson's a great Texas troubadour. Well, I say Texas, he's actually a South Dakota boy. But he's slaying it out there, solo acoustic guitar. Ben Chapman is a great Georgia singer-songwriter, and his girl, Meg McRee, they're both setting it on fire.
This has been Grind and Flow, the Creativity Podcast. Please follow us on your favorite podcast app and consider leaving a review. You can also follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Grind and Flow Official. Thanks so much. See you next time.